Welcome. Today we're going to be looking at movements for hiking and backpacking. We're going to look at three different kind of areas of movement. The first being long-term preparation, training sorts of movements that you can do all year long to get your body ready for hiking and backpacking. The second area we're going to look at is going to be movements that you might do before you start a hike or a backpacking trip. You wake up in the morning, do these movements, get everything engaged, get your body engaged, get your head engaged. And the third area that we're going to look at is going to be movements that you can do at the end of the day that will let you relax and get to sleep. So we're going to start with the first area, which is kind of ongoing long-term training and preparation for hiking and backpacking. We're going to start by looking at the quads and the lower back, and we're going to do a semi-squat, and what that's going to look like is this. We're going to stand, I'm going to stand sideways so you can see the alignment here. We're going to keep the torso vertical, and we're going to bend the knees, drop the torso straight down, and try and keep that torso vertical. So what we're going to do is you're going to notice what happens here. Your butt's going to stick out, your knees are going to move forward. It's a semi-squat. Keep the torso vertical as much as you can. What we're going to do is inhale as we come down, exhale as we come up and relax. Inhale down, exhale up and relax. The breath is going to be your metronome, nice and slow. Inhale, exhale, relax. As you do this, notice what's going on with your feet. Try and keep your feet nicely balanced, fore and aft and side to side. If you'd like to add a little bit more intensity to this movement, we can add a little bit of an arm swing. So as you inhale down, lift the arms, exhale up. Inhale, exhale. As you do this movement, feel what you feel in the quads, what you feel in the lower back. And release. All right. We're going to shift from the quads and lower back to the hamstrings, and we're going to do a movement that's known as a forward flexion. And what that means is that we're going to keep the back nice and long. When we came down like this, we had a nice long back. There was a curve from the butt through the back all the way to the head. So that nice long curve in the back is a long back. We're going to start with a long back. Oftentimes you can put your hands behind your back, and that might help you get into a long back scenario. You could also do a semi-squat and find that back position, but we want to start with a long back. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold that long back through the whole movement. We're going to hinge right here at the hip joints. So keeping that nice long back, we just hinge at the hip joint, come back up. Exhale as we come down. Inhale as we come up. Exhale down. Inhale up. So we're going to move here. I want you to notice a couple of things. One is that you can do some very shallow forward flexions, and then you can do some longer, deeper forward flexions and come all the way down until your hamstrings stop you from coming any further down. Key is to keep that nice long back. So do some shallow forward flexions, do some deeper forward flexions. And then in order to change this up a little bit and analyze side to side, what we'll do next is we will lift the right heel tiny bit off the mat and continue with the movement. So flex forward, inhale up, put the right heel down, lift the left heel tiny bit, exhale down, inhale up. So each time you're up in a vertical position, put one heel down and lift the other. And what this will allow you to do is kind of look at side to side and notice how the different sides of your body, the different legs, different hamstrings respond. Is one side tighter? Do you have some pain? Do you have some tweaks that happen on one side and not the other? Or do they feel pretty much the same? And release. So we're going to add one more variation to this forward flexion, and that's going to involve some twisting in the hip joints, and this is what it's going to look like. So we're going to start in our standard position, nice long back, hands behind, and from this position flex forward on the exhale, and then we're going to swing the torso in one direction, in the other direction, come back to center, and come on up. So the breath work here is exhale as you come down and swing to both sides. Inhale as you come back to center and up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Notice the movement in the hips, in the hip joint. Notice the movement of the knees as you do this twist. One knee moves forward, one knee moves back. And notice the weight that you're carrying on your feet, so that you try and keep the weight evenly balanced on your feet as you do this movement. So you're not swinging to the outside of your feet as you move to the side. You're not rolling to the inside as you come into the center. Let's do one more each side. And release. All right. We're going to take a look at the hamstrings and glutes next. And we're going to do that from a side position so you can see the alignment here. We're going to start and take one foot just back slightly and extend that leg back. And you're going to notice the hamstrings engage. So you can even feel them engage here as you extend that leg back and down. So the heel extends down towards the ground. Release. Inhale, bring the other foot back and extend that leg. Exhale and release. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Notice what happens in the lower back as you extend that leg back. Almost subconsciously, the chest lifts, the sternum lifts, the back elongates into that nice long back position. So we're going to add a little bit something to that. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a foot lift. So we're going to extend the leg back, and then after we extend it, lift it a tiny bit off the mat. And exhale out. Foot back, extend, lift, exhale, release. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Notice what you feel in the hamstrings, in the glutes, and the lower back. All of them are engaged strongly to make this movement. And if you want to add a little more excitement, you can do an arm lift as the foot lifts, the arms lift. So inhale, extend the leg, lift the foot, lift the hands, look up towards the hands, exhale down. Inhale, up, exhale down. And release. And let's just take a moment here just to feel what's going on in the body right now. Feel where we've got some muscle activation. You might feel it in the hamstrings. You might feel it in the glutes. You might feel it in the lower back. You might even feel it in the shoulders if your shoulders are a little stiff and creaky. Just take a moment here. We'll take a few breaths. Just relax and feel. So we're going to do a little bit more work with the upper thighs and the hip joint. And we're going to work in a big swing, and this is what it's going to look like. So we'll start in a standing mountain, so feet about hip width apart. We're going to take one foot, right foot, we're going to lift it out to the side and just tap the toe down. And we're going to bring the toe forward and tap forward. The key here is to rotate the pelvis around. You could just swing the leg forward without rotating the pelvis. What I'd like you to do is to rotate that pelvis around as the foot comes around. Come back to neutral and then reverse that. Swing the hips to the right as the foot comes back and taps. So we're going to tap 3 times. Here's the first tap at the back, second tap neutral, third tap, foot comes forward. The breath work here is you'll inhale as you move, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Let's do one more sequence here. As you do this movement, notice what you're feeling in the glutes and in the upper thigh for the planted leg, and release. So the muscles that are making that pelvic twist happen are the glutes. So if my right leg is floating, it's my left glutes that are making that rotation happen in the pelvis. That's the glutes. And we're going to take notice of that as we switch to the second side. So we're going to plant the right foot, lift the left foot out to the side. Inhale, bring the foot forward. Exhale, back to center. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. I'd like you to take your free hand, put it on your glutes on the right side, and feel them as we go through this movement. Inhale as you move back. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And release. So, good strong rotation in the upper thighs and the hip joint. Feel the movement that we just did. Just take a moment to feel that. And we're going to move on to another movement based on that same thing. What we're going to do is we're going to swing the leg freely. So instead of 3 different taps, we're going to let the foot swing freely in a big arc. And this is what it's going to look like. So we're going to start, we're going to swing the foot back, swing the foot forward. Swing the foot back, swing the foot forward. So you want to swing that leg as far as it will go. And the breath work here is we're going to do one breath movement in one direction and the opposite this way. So whether you inhale back, exhale forward, or reverse those, it doesn't really matter. Just that you're using your breath as a metronome. I'm going to inhale back, exhale forward. So let that foot swing in that nice big arc. And you can add a little bit to this as you swing back. Lift the foot a little bit. Lift the foot a little bit in the front. Lift in the back. Lift in the front. And release. Now, you may notice from doing this movement that there's quite a bit of activity on that planted foot, and that's a good thing. We really do want to train the feet so that they're used to the twisting and shifting weight that happens as you hike. Let's go to the second side. So inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale forward, exhale back. Exhale. Inhale. Notice what you feel here in the supporting leg and the glutes. And as your foot swings, let it lift a little bit. Let it lift a little bit higher on the back swing and the forward swing. And release. So I'm going to turn sideways. We're going to do one more little variation on that. And what we're going to focus on is a forward rotation at the hip joint as we do the big arc swing with the leg. So here's what it looks like. We're going to swing the leg around, and then we're going to tilt. Leg swings forward. Leg swings back. And forward. So lift that leg at the back, let the torso swing forward. And release. Or fall out, as the case may be. Let's go to the second side. So as the leg swings back, a little bit of forward tilt from the torso, leg comes forward. Leg back, leg forward. Boom. And release. Cut it right here. We're going to do, hold it. We're going to do one more movement here as part of our long-term training. And again, it's going to focus on twisting movements around the hip joints. And what we're going to do is take one leg across the body like this. The opposite hand comes to the outside of the thigh and come down. Left leg comes across to the right side of the body. Right hand touches the outside of the thigh. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now, we're going to modify this a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to add a leg extension. So as the leg comes across, extend the leg out to the side and come back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So the leg comes across and then the leg straightens. Feel what you feel as that leg straightens. You're going to feel some additional engagement in the body. And release. So we're going to do one more variation on this one. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see this a little better. What we're going to do is we're going to do the same basic start. So we're going to bring a knee across and straighten the leg. Need to move a little bit. Then we're going to swing the leg all the way back in a nice big arc, as far around as it will go, and then we'll step out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now, one thing I want you to notice as we do this movement is to keep the shoulders parallel with the front of whatever you're standing on. So if you're standing in a standing mountain position, shoulders are facing forward. Keep them parallel with that as you do this movement. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And release. The second area we're going to look at is what you might do in the morning or before you start hiking or backpacking. The intent here is to wake up the muscles and get the muscles engaged so that they're ready to move, and so that your mind and your body are working together instead of just kind of moving from habit or from necessity. So this sort of movement is typically just going to be a fairly short segment, and what I'm going to do is just move through this, and it's going to be fairly short. The idea again is being to engage the muscles and get your mind and your body on the same plane. So you've just dragged yourself out of bed, you're feeling tired. Let's get started. So let's look at your thumbs. We're going to take the thumbs, we're going to rotate them back and away. And once they come back and away, inhale and lift. Exhale, bring them down. Now bring the thumbs forward so that they point back. So we're doing a rotation up the arm, up the shoulder, into the shoulder joint. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. When you come down to the bottom here, you're going to slouch forward into a cow position with the back. And then as the arms move back, you're going to have that nice long curvature in the back. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale. Exhale. And release. I always find it helpful to get the back and the shoulders involved first of all, so that everything else seems to fall in place a little bit better. So let's continue with the shoulders. Lift one arm and reach up towards the sky. And release. Inhale, reach. Exhale, release. Inhale. Exhale. Reach up there as you inhale. Exhale and release. We're going to add the second arm. It's going to move in the opposite direction. So as my left arm reaches up towards the sky, my right arm reaches down towards the ground. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Feel what happens to the arms and the shoulders as you reach up and down with the opposite hands. Stretching out the muscles and the fascia in the arms and the shoulders. And release. We're going to come back to a forward flexion, which we did in the first sequence. It is such a marvelous exercise for the hip joints and the hamstrings. I find them to be really, really helpful. So I'm going to turn sideways so you can see the alignment. Hands behind your back. Have that nice long back. Stick your butt out a little bit. And then from this position, keeping that back in its current state, hinge right here at the hip joints. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Do some shallow forward flexions. And do some deep forward flexions. Come down as far as the hamstrings will allow. And on some of these, you may want to come down and just hang out for a breath cycle and just feel the hamstrings. Feel them in their currently long, extended shape. And then slowly come back up. Come down, hang out there. Feel what's going on in the hamstrings, and then slowly and gently engage the hamstrings to come back up. And we're going to modify that a little bit. Lift the heel when you're up, just a tiny bit. Flex forward, come back up. Put that heel down, lift the other. We're going to modify this a little bit, and we're going to add a little bit of complexity to the movement. What we're going to do is we're going to lift a foot forward. We're going to do a forward flexion, keeping the foot lifted. And then as we come up, we're going to swing the foot back. So forward flexion, lift. So the back stays in the same basic position here. The foot swings forward as you flex forward. Foot swings back as you lift into that nice long arc. So let's go to the second side here. Foot comes forward, flex forward, lift. Flex forward, lift. And release. We're going to take a look at the hip joints and the glutes. And the way we're going to do that is from a standing mountain position. We're going to push one knee forward and one knee back. So my left knee presses forward, my right knee presses back. This is what it looks like from a front view. Here's a 3/4 view. Left knee forward, right knee back, and come back to center. Then reverse that. Right knee forward, left knee back. Now, when you do this movement, do it slowly and gently. Inhale as you press the knees forward. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now, as you move, you're going to notice a couple of things. Number one, the knee moving forward needs to be balanced left and right on the foot, so that notice if your foot is tending to be heavily weighted on either the inside or the outside of the foot. You want a nice, even balance on the knee forward foot. I also want you to notice what's going on in the hip as the hip moves back. So in this case, my right hip joint What do you feel there? Move nice and slowly, nice and gently. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Now, as we do this movement, I'd like you to add a little bit more torso rotation. So you'll notice the shoulders right now are following the hips, basically, in terms of the rotation that they're doing. What we're going to add is a little more. So this is what it looks like. Add a little bit more rotation to the shoulders so they rotate a little more past the supporting hips. Exhale down, inhale up. Now, if you'd like to add a little more excitement, lift the arms at the end. And as you lift those arms, notice what kind of dynamics in the body change when you lift the arms. What I notice especially is much more engagement higher up the back. And release. The final thing that we're going to look at for a pre-hike, pre-backpack warm-up is to skate. And I'm going to do this from the side so you can see what the alignment looks like. So we're going to make sure I have enough room behind me here. We're going to take one foot and bring it back as if you're skating. Notice the hip twists, foot lifts, leg extends back, come back. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So the leg goes off at a little bit of an angle. Let me show you from the front. So the leg comes out at a little bit of an angle. Doesn't come straight back, just like you're skating. Show you from the side. And you'll notice the shoulders tend to follow the hips, right? So they're going to rotate a little bit. As the hips rotate, the shoulders rotate. So we're going to modify that a little bit. I'd like you to have the shoulders maintain alignment with their forward position. So right now, shoulders are aligned to a forward position. As I bring the foot back, maintain the shoulders parallel with that same position. What that's going to do is increase the twist in the spine as the leg comes back and the pelvis rotates. You're going to have a more intense spinal twist. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, and release. And that is a nice quick warm-up to get your mind, your body fully engaged and ready to go out and hike. The third area that we're going to look at is movements that you might do at the end of the day in order to help you relax your muscles, and not only relax, but also to help you get to sleep. And what we're going to do is a mixture of some old stretches and some very gentle muscle release. So we're going to start with the calves, and what we're going to do here is just an old style lean against something calf stretch. So if I do it from here, I'm going to start with my legs back and stretch my calves. One thing you can do to further stretch them is, number one, walk them back a little bit further, but also you can bring one knee forward so one leg is holding that stretch. And you can simply move from side to side like this for the calf stretch. I frequently notice after a long day of walking that one of my calves is a lot tighter than the other. So you may want to pay a little attention to that and spend a little bit more time releasing that particular calf. The second thing that I typically will do is look at the quads. And in order to stretch the quads, we're going to do just an old-fashioned quad stretch. So bring your foot up and grab it just a little below the ankle. You're going to do two things. We're going to push the knee down and the hip forward. So knee down, hip forward, and pull that leg in with your hand so that you can feel tension develop here on the quads. And you're just going to stay there for a number of different breaths and eventually release. And then go to the second side. So grab that foot, pull the heel in towards your butt, knee down, hip forward. And I will typically stay in this position for at least a good number of breaths, maybe 10 or more. And then I'll go and do the same sequence all over again. So come back to the right thigh, knee down, hip forward. Do this for, again, at least 10, 15 breaths. Release, come back to second side on the left. So what we've done so far is we've stretched the calves, we've stretched the quads. What we're going to do next is a very relaxing movement, and that is just a simple forward curvature of the spine. In yoga, this is oftentimes known as a cat position, cat-cow, where the back is arched forward. And there's a number of different ways to do this. One way that I do is to do a squat and bring my head low and my arms next to my knees so that I have some good balance. And then just let the head hang low. If you tend to hold tension in your neck, like I do, you may want to start in this position and then move very slowly and rotate the head as you let it hang down. So if you're holding tension in the neck, let it release as you let the head hang and move it gently. If you cannot stand in a position like that with a squat, you can do the same movement like this from a seated position. The key here is to have the spine curved and the weight of the head leaning forward so that the neck is being elongated and stretched. So you can do this from this position. If you have a chair or a log or something to sit on, you can always sit on that log and brace yourself with your elbows. The key is have the spine curved forward and the head resting forward so that the neck muscles in the back especially are being stretched and released. There's an alternate to doing that I like to do, and one of them is to bring the left arm onto the outside of the right knee so that you've got a spinal twist. And then from this position, let your head hang down. And again, if you find it helpful, move the head slowly in different positions so that you can find and release tension in the neck. And then I'll typically go to the second side. So I'm bringing the right arm around the left knee. My other hand is positioned back as a balance. Let your head hang down. And then move your head to discover and release tension that you may be holding in your neck. Another movement that you can do that's very relaxing and restful is simple child's pose. So if you find this comfortable, by all means, child's pose is good. So lean forward. I like to lift my head and bring my arms back. You may find it more comfortable to put your hands together and rest your forehead on your hands. I kind of like this. And you can keep your knees together, or you can spread your knees apart. That'll give you a little bit more movement forward. It's going to release the lower back a little bit more if the knees are wide. So child's pose is certainly a pose that is also deeply relaxing. One other thing that I do for relaxing before bed is to do a very long stretch like this. So I bring foot back, this foot forward, and then lift that back knee. And then lift the sternum, lift the head, so that you're in a very long position here. Nice long curve in the back. You're going to feel this a lot in the upper thigh and the front of the low torso. So there's this position. Come back to plank and reverse. Let the knee drift down, but keep it off the ground. Sternum is lifted, so you've got a nice long back. We'll come back to the first side. And what we'll do is we are going to release, if the right foot is forward, we're going to release the right arm, bring it around so that you add a bit of a torso twist to this nice long stretch. Come back out. Go to the other side. So with the left leg forward, release the left hand, bring it around behind. Come back and release. The last thing that I do before getting into bed is to work a little bit with my hips, and I find that rotating the hips is deeply relaxing for me. And so this is how I do that. I start in a position like this, hands down. You can do gorilla pose if you want with your knuckles down. I find if I do fingertips, that works pretty well. But I'm going to keep that nice long back. The back is going to stay as long as I can make it. And then I'm going to swing the hips from side to side. So swing them to the right, swing them to the left. What I find is that this is very good for me for lower back, glutes, and in the hip joints itself, so that what is tight there from a day of long walks, I can release by doing this movement. So nice long back. Just swing the hips side to side, nice and slowly. Feel the muscles that are releasing as you make this movement. And then I usually bring an elbow to a thigh and come up nice and slowly. So, those are some movements that I would suggest for you for relaxing and easing into your sleep. So I hope you find some of this of some benefit. If you've got comments, please leave them below. Thank you for joining me today.